All right, so this is going to be a reading for Sagittarius. And for the Sagittarius that I'm reading for today, I'm seeing that there's a situation here that involves other people, other energies, and it seems like you're pretty stuck in your head about what to do here, and there could be something really overwhelming about this situation for you. But with the Oracle cards today being transformation, going with the flow, and integration, it's like Spirit saying that the lesson here is about shifting your energy from one of needing to know what's going to happen, needing to kind of be in control in some way, or feel like you are getting ahead of the situation or you know what's going to happen, and transforming that energy into a more flowing energy, a more flexible energy, one where you do go with the flow, you roll with the punches, and you're not so nervous about how everything's going to go down. Because there is a lesson in here, I think, about understanding that you can't plan for everything and you don't know how things are going to happen, and you have to kind of be open to the unexpected in life in order to kind of keep moving forward. So I'm going to dive into the energies here in a second, Sagittarius, but before I do, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for receiving this reading. If you would like to lend your energy to the channel so that I can manifest messages that resonate more deeply for you and align with the path that you're on, you can like and subscribe. And if you would like a personal reading, I do offer personal readings. You can email me. My email is down below in the description box. But let's see what's going on here, Sagittarius. So I'm seeing this as possibly involving at least one other connection. Possibly there were other energies involved as well. But there is something there about connecting with someone in particular that seems to be pretty stressful for you at this time. Let's take a look at that connection. This is something that when you connect to it, or when you connect to this person, it does feel very open. It does feel very inspiring. It does feel like you can kind of do anything, go anywhere with this energy. But then it's almost like there are material constraints restricting you in this connection. There's something very heavy attached to it that could have to do with other people or other energies. We do have the Three of Pentacles here and the Three of Cups, so that represents some type of external energy that kind of comes into this connection and kind of weighs it down in some way. Ooh, there's a feeling of immaturity or like immature behavior patterns here attached to this. Could be a lot of impulsiveness, but also just emotional immaturity, this feeling of, yeah, just some type of, we try to approach issues and then they don't really get handled well. And it's almost like there's a desire to like start over with this person or start fresh, but there was some type of painful occurrence here. For some of you, this could be some type of ending, some type of break in the energy. For others of you, this is just like a falling out that you had with someone here. And it's almost like that kind of needs to be dealt with first before you can just release the energy. And I'm seeing that it possibly hasn't been addressed or confronted. Let's take a look at what happened there. There possibly could have been multiple hardships or just sort of a lack of foundation in this connection that almost never really got addressed, and it's like something just wasn't really approached in the physical. So there could have been a lot of positive energy exchanged between the two of you or whoever's present in this situation, but there was something that wasn't really moving forward or wasn't moving in a direction that felt good. That was very difficult, and eventually those energies kind of culminated in some type of break or some type of ending because it doesn't look sustainable, whatever this was. Now, I don't know if this was material constraints, like something to do with your stability, money, finances, that type of thing, or if there was just literally an element to the connection that was kind of unstable, that caused hardship, that caused stress. And it's almost like over time, this really needed to be dealt with, but I'm seeing that maybe it wasn't really looked at very carefully, or it wasn't given the consideration that it really needed to be given. There's almost this feeling of like, yeah, there's some issues, but that's okay. We can just keep powering through. We can keep powering through. And eventually what ended up happening is that it didn't get addressed. And then in the current energy, there's this feeling of really a lot of unhealthiness, instability, immaturity, impulsiveness, just kind of responding to that energy of instability with more instability. And there's almost this feeling of a lot of avoidance, let's just leave it alone. We don't need to look at that. Let's take a look at that avoidant energy. Okay, yeah, there's this feeling of everything's fine here. Everything's great. We're super happy. And this is in the past for sure. This feeling of maybe just wanting to maintain the happiness, maintain the connection, kind of, but it's almost forced. It's like everything's great here, right? And it's like because it has to be right or it has to be good. And the fact is, it wasn't good. There was something that wasn't good here, but there was very little attention that was actually given to that energy. Partially possibly because of this avoidance, and then partially because when it became known, there's this feeling of maybe being overwhelmed or, avoidance in general. Let's take a look at that. So eventually someone in this situation, could have been you, could have been the other person, did realize there's a lot of instability in this. I need to cut it off. It needs to end. I can't give my energy to something here that isn't working out. I see this being you, but it could also be someone else in this connection. There's this feeling of all of a sudden, this just isn't working out, and you're recognizing it for what it is. You're possibly even recognizing that you yourself were contributing to this dynamic by not looking at it before, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh God, now that I see it, I can't unsee it, and I have to remove myself from this situation, whatever it was. And then in the current energy, there is possibly a desire to rebuild, to approach this again, but it kind of comes from a similar place of just wanting everything to be okay and kind of being like, well, let me just open up to it because it feels good. And I can just move on and open up and be fine. But again, there's a very heavy energy that kind of carries over from whatever happened here that still needs to be dealt with, that still needs to be approached and really shown some love. I see you kind of rebuilding and saying, okay, that was really, really hard. I'm really exhausted. Let me try to bring in a softer energy and kind of open up my heart here to something new. But again, even as you do that, there's a bit of a desire to just go ahead and open back up to this and have it be fine and just say, it's okay, everything's okay, because I love you and we're happy. And it's not avoidant exactly in the current energy, but it does come through as not totally honest. There are things that you feel in this situation, and there's things that you know. And I do see you over and over again kind of trying to avoid those things, and then as you avoid them, getting overwhelmed because at some point those energies are going to come back up, right? You're not going to be able to avoid them forever. And I see you being like, after the fact, like, how do I make this better? How do I rectify this situation? And again, with that, going with the flow and transformation oracle card, there's something here about releasing control of the situation, knowing that you can't just make it better. If it's not okay, it's not okay, And sometimes that's beyond you. Sometimes you can't just fix it, and you also can't run away from it. Like, sometimes it just sucks. And that's kind of the energy that's coming to the fore here, is like recognizing that sometimes all you can do is just go with the flow in this situation. Ultimately, I see you leaving this whole situation behind, kind of saying, I need to move forward in a more positive way. And as soon as you open up to the idea of moving forward, not from an avoidant place, but from looking at your feelings, it's like you're able to start to parse between all the different feelings that are coming up, because you start to recognize, okay, first of all, there's something unhealthy going on here. Then that's something that I need to look at. Second of all, how do I feel as me? Not with these other energies, not taking on all of the energies of this situation, but just within myself, how do I feel? And just that little bit of openness to the truth, to your feelings, it starts to free you from the negativity, and you start to be able to move towards the positivity and move away from the negativity, not from a place of avoidance, but of actually feeling it and then releasing it. And as soon as you start to feel it and release it, it's almost like I'm picturing like a filtration system. And you're so honest with what happened in this situation that you start to filter. Okay, here's what feels good. Here's what I learned from the situation. Here's what doesn't feel good. Let me process that. Let me grieve it. And then let me release it, And the more you process and release, and the more you accept the good, you start to filter it all through. And suddenly the situation becomes a lot clearer, a lot cleaner, and you're going with the flow, because rather than taking those energies and saying, no, everything has to be good, you start to contend with both the positive and the negative energies for what they are. And that level of acceptance that you bring to the situation, it starts to really clarify things the same way a filtration system would clarify, say, water or something like that. Let's get 3 cards of advice from the universe. There's some sort of desperation in your energy when it comes to being happy and everything being perfect. And Spirit kind of wants you to take a look at why you need things to be perfect all the time, and to really shift your energy into understanding and really sitting in the discomfort of what it feels like for things to not always be perfect, because that's just part of life. And the more that you're able to sit in the discomfort of it, the more you're able to kind of detach and take a step back from needing everything to turn out a certain way, and you're able to kind of go with the flow and integrate both the positive and negative energies for what they are. So that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. I hope that this helps. I hope that this resonates, and I'll see you next time.